Hello, beautiful people. It's lovely to be here and to see you all. I should just always read my script, but I'm just so happy to see all of you. I'm like, yay. I hope, I love our fire alerts, but the only thing that's about to be lit in here is this poetry reading, all right? Okay, let's hear some noise. Let's get some energy in this room. Thank you, thank you. I would say hello to our online audience. If you're joining us from outside of Harrisonburg or just, wherever your living room happens to be, welcome, welcome. This is our second to last Fierce Flower Poetry Reading Series event this fall. And I want to take a moment to thank my outstanding staff. You've just met Jasmine Witherspoon, our program manager, Tara Dolan, who's our office and communications coordinator, and Nikima Bell, who's our special projects coordinator. Give them a hand. They make all of this run so smoothly. I want to thank Boundless Books and Feshwe May, who was our partner in helping us get Krista here as part of the Boundless Bound Book Fair this weekend, not weekend, I wish, these last 2 days, and that's just been really wonderful. I hope you got to participate. This is like the final little bit of that event. Who else do I need to thank? I always thank her if she's in town. Dr. Joanne Gabin, who's the founder of the Fierce Flower Poetry Center. The reason that we are here today, I know I would say we are the nation's first academic center dedicated to Black poetry. But we began as something Dr. Gabin thought she was going to do one time, which was the Fierce Flower Poetry Conference, celebrating Black poets and the matriarch Gwendolyn Brooks. And we kept happening. So here we are today, an institution, a center, a tradition, a community. And I'm so happy that you have joined us, and to become part of that, please keep signing in so that you can get our newsletters, get information about us, and all the things we are doing here on campus and in the community. It's my pleasure, hold on. It is my pleasure to introduce the incredible poet and artist and my dear friend, Krista Franklin. I met Krista in, and I'm going to say the year just because we refuse to believe it was that long ago, 2004. It feels like it shouldn't be that long ago, but there we have it. At the Kave Khanum workshop. Kave Khanum is a week-long summer retreat for Black poets. We were in the same group, Group C. And that meant for a whole week, we read, we gave each other feedback on each other's work. We had to turn in a poem every single morning. That was hard. And so we were sweating all night, getting those poems written. We were vulnerable together in our sharing. We were brave together, encouraging each other, that entire group with our various instructors and teachers, the people we learned from, and bonded in that unique poetry boot camp kind of way. It was my first time in a space like that, and I would definitely mark it as one of the watershed moments in my development as a poet and as a person, because of what I learned, absolutely, but also because of the incredible folks like Krista that I met and who remain influences and inspiration to this day. I still remember back then Krista was writing X-Men poems, and I was marveling that something like a comic could be the subject for poetry, and more so that it could be brilliant, innovative, and thought-provoking poetry. Even then, as a baby poet, the seeds of what has blossomed into an expansive and evocative practice were evident, and how she has blossomed. As a poet and visual artist, Krista invites those who encounter her work to consider the world not as a given to abide by, but as given to us, to alchemize through our own unique minds and bodies and experiences, through which we can imagine and manifest alternative possibilities of being, perhaps more just, perhaps more connected, perhaps more fun, perhaps kinder, perhaps softer or sturdier, perhaps more loving, perhaps free. Her work is visceral and deeply embodied, acutely alert to the heft and the matter of the body, the material and reality of place and personhood, but it is also steeped in spirituality and presence, always deeply aware of the otherwheres in the here, the otherwise beings alongside and integral to our human being. Call it cosmos, or ancestors, or soul. Whether collaging images through words or visual material, she returns the familiar to us as fantastic. She upends the ordinary, the patterns and the practices to which we have been habituated, and she invites us to do the same. The result is art that is surreal, resistant, empowering. I'm going to read a little bit from her piece, Call, which closes her poetry collection. We mentioned it's for sale over there. It's called Too Much Midnight. It's hilarious. I have a typo. It's called Too Much Magic. I'm like, too much magic, too much midnight, all of it. She writes in Call, here's a mirror. Look behind you, beyond you. Here's a portal. Jump through it. Make magic. Follow the breadcrumbs, the North Star, the scary crackle of tree branches just ahead in the dark. Take the darkness into your fists and smash it on the warm stones of daylight. Make daylight. No more caskets for us all to crawl into. No more remixed autopsy recitations. No more black masked mammies. No more brown bodies on your cooling boards and studio floors. No more satirical snark crafted to suffocate. No more grabbed bodies. No more public-private intellectual masturbating. No more 20th century icons as dead talking heads to justify injustice. That is a call I hope we all heed this evening, hear this evening, and feel compelled to answer. Krista Franklin is the author of Too Much Midnight, Study of Love and the Black Body, Solos, and the art book Under the Knife. She's been published in Poetry, Callaloo, Bomb, among other journals and anthologies. Her visual art has been exhibited at the Museum of Contemporary Photography, the Studio Museum in Harlem, the National Museum of Mexican Arts, and on the set of 20th Century Fox's hit show Empire, among other distinguished galleries and venues. We're just thrilled. So thrilled to have her here with us at James Madison University in Harrisonburg. It's her first time in Virginia. Please join me in giving her a furious flower welcome, Krista Franklin.
Sometimes I'm like, who are they talking about? who is this person? Thank you so much. I just want to reiterate once again and just say thank y'all for being here today, because again, you could have been anywhere. You chose to be here in this room with us, and I am very honored that you are here with me, that you are here with us, so thank you. And you know, a special thanks to James Madison University, a special thanks to the Boundless Book Symposium. Boundless Bound Symposium. I know, I keep stumbling that. Boundless Bound Symposium and Art Book Fair. It's been remarkable to be here, and especially thank you to Furious Flower. So I'm gonna read some things. It's so funny about the X-Men poems, because I literally forget sometimes that I've written X-Men poems, but I will read one of them tonight that's in the book, and not going to start with that, but I will definitely read that piece, because I heard the resounding elation in the room around that, so I will read that. It's not something that I read too often, but I'll read it. I love X-Men. I'm kind of a huge geek when it comes to comics and whatnot. So I'll open up with a poem that I read quite a bit. It's an Ars Poetica manifesto, or Ars Poetica number 2. It opens up Too Much Midnight. So I'm going to start with that, so you kind of get an idea about, what I think about poetry and how poetry should function for me. Manifesto, or Ars Poetica number 2. Give me the night. You beasts hissing over the face of this dead woman, I climb into your eyes, looking. To those who would sleep through the wounds they inflict on others, I offer pain to help them awaken. Juju, tom-toms, and the magic of a talking burning bush. I am the queen of sleight of hand, wandering the forest of motives, armed with horoscopes, cosmic encounters, and an X-Acto knife. My right eye is a projector, flickering Hottentot and Huey Newton. My left eye is prism of wild style, gold grills, lowriders, black dahlias, blunts, and back alleys. At 21, I stood at the crossroad of hell and here, evil peering at me behind a blue-red eye. I armed myself with the memories of Pentecostal tent revivals, apple orchards, the strawberry fields I roamed with my mother and aunt in the summer, and the sighting of UFO lights blinking in the black of an Ohio night sky. I am a weapon. I believe in hoodoo, voodoo, root workers, dead presidents, black tail, black inches, and banshees. I believe in the ghosts of 60 million or more and black bones disintegrating at the bottom of the Atlantic below sea level, not just knee deep. I believe that children are the future. Love them now or meet them at dusk at your doorstep. A 9mm in their right hand and a head noisy as a hornet's nest later. Your choice. Black, still, in the hour of chaos. I believe in royal crown, afro sheen, Vaseline, Jergens, and baby powder on breasts. The collective conscious, cellular memory, public enemies, outlaws, outcasts, elevations, elevators, and Encyclopedia Britannica. Under my knife, El Hajj Malik El Shabazz laughs with Muhammad Ali. A lady named Day cuddles with a boxer named Mr. after traumatically stumbling on strange fruit dangling from one of the most beautiful sycamores ever. Under my knife, Marilyn Monroe enjoys an evening out with Ella Fitzgerald. Meanwhile, life shows me a gigantic photo. I am a weapon. I chart voyages of unlove high on a man called Crazy who turns nigger into prince. I believe in Zhong, Clifton, Dirty Diana, and Dilla, Paper, Skrilla, Green, Gumbo coins, Batty boys, and video vixens. I believe that beads at the ends of braids are percussive instruments in double dutch. In the reflection of my knife, Cab Calloway, Duke Ellington, and Thelonious Monk argue in a Basquiat heroin nod. I am a weapon. I believe in gugobs of deep brown apple butter, alphabets, Alaga syrup, Afralachians, assalamu alaikum, walaikum assalam, and African Hebrew Israelites. I believe in octoroons, quadroons, coloreds, coolie high, commodores, crumpin, crunk, and burn, Hollywood burn. I am Setha, crawling a field toward freedom with a white girl talking about velvet. I believe in tumbleweaves, hot combs and hair lies, Shaka Zulu Mau Mau, slum village and balloon mind state. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. I believe in water. My body is pulp. I bleed ink. I believe in the Fantastic Volume 2, low-end theory, space is the place, and the hissing of summer lawns. Tucked in the corner of my right ventricle sprouts a tree of knowledge, lives a shining serpent and a middle finger. I'm on a quest for the marvelous. My face is a mask of malehood, malevolence, one big masquerade. Metaphysically niggerish, I am a weapon wandering the forest of motives, a machete in one hand, a mirror in the other, searching for the nearest body of water. So I should say that Manifesto or Ars Poetica #2 is a collage poem. And in the course of that poem are many poetic voices, many voices of many poets. Tim Siebels is in there, Wanda Coleman is in there, I'm a little bit in there as well. I've sampled other poems, older poems, so you might hear some repetition throughout the night of things that I've sampled from myself in that poem. It's really chock full of a lot of voices of people who I feel have influenced me, right? Musicians, there's album covers, album names in there, musicians stuff is in there. So, it's very important for me to acknowledge the citations that exist within that poem. because citations is loving, right? It's an act of love, right? To recognize and say, I've been influenced by these people, right? Joni Mitchell's in there. I love Joni Mitchell. So, okay, so I'm just gonna read a variety of things, and I'll land at some point on some poems and writings from under the knife. I should say, I wanted to preface with this and kind of just launched. Those of you who are watching us online, move the babies out of the way. Put the headphones on, okay? Because I do write in vernaculars, and some of those vernaculars are street vernaculars, as you can tell. So, just be mindful, as we move through the night. High school homecoming. At the pub, I watch in, crawl the bed of her emotions in search of some small comfort. Oh, the way we wish to not hurt each other. Ourselves. In vain, our tiny fists hammering the Herculean expanse of our humanity, as if there were any God who permits escape without sacrifice. Blood and salt, in whatever form they can wring it. This is what I think later, of course, remembering it, the salt shimmering in the reservoir of N's lower lid, the mere thought of hurting some random kid, her friend, tangled in the tripwire of the unrequited. Out of the woods. On the way to water, I think, low moan, heat too deep for me to reach. A new noise from a vent in the paper palace. Before I bounce off brick wall, begging for a change. The door swings open and unhinges me to the nail. I heard SMS behind me. You not ready. As it turns out, ticks, like cops, have a taste for black blood. The mosquitoes made a meal of me for weeks. They're walking Slurpee. One stuck his straw in my third eye. I spell him struck blind. My friends compile lists of things they never knew. Read me for filth. I say in every language, I don't have the answers. They don't believe me. I stopped buying tickets to the shit show, but no matter the distance, the smell is pervasive. In the woods, I learned baby wolves get high from the scent of hearts bursting on their Instagram feeds. Serotonin is a hell of a drug. In the clearing, I strain to hear the echoes of men whose bodies drag the forest floor. Unfortunately, all the witnesses withered 70 winters ago. Blood is a potent fertilizer. Out of the Woods was a poem that I wrote. I teach sometimes in the summer with my dear friend Ayanna Moore at a place called Oxbow School of Art. And that poem in particular talks about one summer that we went there, and right when we got there, I'm like, I love Lucy. I'm like, it's always an accident happening around me, So I ended up stubbing my toe and tearing my nail literally back from my foot. And the whole week just started that way, So it was kind of about me being in the woods and being out of the woods, and what does that mean, right? To be in the woods as a black person in particular, where you are not surrounded by people who resemble you, right? So I really kind of wanted to examine, what that meant for me to be there, even though every time we're there, we have a great time. Except for that time. Untitled Blues after Kara Walker. I do a lot of writing in response to visual art. It's called ekphrastic writing, for those of you who are not familiar with that term. And so a lot of, some of the poems that you might hear tonight are also in response to me looking at visual art. Untitled Blues after Kara Walker. Indigo pool, color of the wings of the biggest specimen captured in glass in my second room. That one iridescent, incandescent, a word I wish every nigga knew. Not too far back, my shadow embraced me so long, I thought I was narcissist, pulled deep into my own blues, a muddy masterpiece. Each day, we drink from each other's poison ponds, raw dogging the air between us. This woman is no different. Look, her gaze plunged into echo, midnight specter looking back, black. Once a hag tried to hold me down to do God only knows. I pulled all the rabbits out my hat. My grandmother rose up in me. It's actually easy to get caught in a bruise. The dull ache of everything over these past 3 years, the clocks swinging secondhand, still digging more graves. Listen, at this point, we are ashamed as Adam, running forlorn from the fields of Eden, mesmerized by our own deep blue abyss. So I've been writing this series of poems, slowly writing them, about my father. When my father was alive, I never wrote about him. Never really wrote about the man. And then when he passed away, the words started to bubble a little bit, So I've been writing these poems intermittently, poems I call Daughters of the Dead Fathers. And so this is one of those poems. This is not your poem. If you have never missed rude banter, witty tete-a-tete with the man who part made you, if you cannot recall cooling his deathbed brow, standing near his ashes, watching him grasp at his life with tales, with vinyl, messages scribbled in blue Bic pen on their worn sleeves, you do not know this, what it means to have a staring match with God. That the body is a trick, a black top hat with a false bottom, a white rabbit somewhere in between. You do not know the tricks played, the spades, payday loans, debts, and disappointments. You cannot imagine sifting through the debris, the dead-end documents of unpaid bills and mysterious correspondence, plastic bags tied in plastic bags, tied in plastic bags, tied in plastic bags, like some strange Russian dolls tucked beneath the bed. A sealed manila envelope with some porn inside. This is not yours. If you have not screamed at your sister into a pillow, averted your eyes from the catheter cascading from his white sheet, walked down the hall from his hospice room in a sticky rage so thick, wanting it to be done, you are not ruined enough for this. The future is as black as a pocket after Kara Walker's Untitled 2020. Graphite, watercolor, gouache, and sumi ink on paper. The handwriting is on the wall, a white smear across the face of the sky, a smear of white, a white chalk smear on a blackboard sky, an inky bleed that eats everything. Come clean. In the dark, we all look alike, right? Wing of a bald eagle, blinking back many strokes in the eye, aperture, strobe, light, look. There's always something in the corner of the eye, the room, a little sliver of something unsavory, some femme's back black overrun by the charcoal drip grip snatched up in the fist, by the unwell iron fists, overwritten out of history's pages. It's hard to even see who's still here. High priestess, so I play tarot a lot. And I sometimes write in response to the tarot cards. And so this poem is a response to the tarot card High Priestess. I've been thinking a lot about, interpretation, particularly when it comes to the tarot, and they can be read in many different ways. And so this is one of my interpretations, High Priestess. Study to show thyself, intuition exists. Iridescent orb, the third eye, crown jewel between study to show thyself, intuition exists. Iridescent orb, the third eye of bull's horns, a closed mouth nestles the sacred on the bed of the tongue. Listen, the whisper that bellows beneath the conscious self. Listen, the whisper that bellows beneath the conscious. In the shadow grows the seed of God shifting. Listen. The whisper that bellows between the conscious in the shadow grows the seed of God shifting you. To tune the ear is to sit at the altar of silence. Hush the chatter of the mind's preschool. Soothe the fretful heart in the blue waves of regret. This is another ekphrastic poem after a painter named Ed Clark, and it's titled After Ed Clark's Untitled, 1957. It's oil on canvas and paper on wood. And the word erased in one stroke, a sweeping gesture of white alphabet smeared to muddy gray, much like the famed Spaniard's first step that transformed a lush landscape to carnage. I say all the time, paper is stronger than you. Peep the weight of splatter, the buckling black warp and wrinkle, the psyche of descendants of slaves. The hope is the verdant scratch in the corner of a fractured world. The cut and paste, the tear, the break, the broken, blistered, shipwreck, still wonder. Every day around the world, a woman is pulled into blue after Kara Walker. Every day, some brown woman pulls into inky blue, a madness that crawls up from the floor of her and flows out all around. I should know. For months, swallowed in the bruise of myself, reaching to hold my hand. The sun continues to brush orange light intermittently everywhere, despite the intimate annihilations this weeping see. There are mornings I wake and wonder why. Later, wandering the walkways in search of something to fill the hole in me, I see a fairy princess floating by, her mother cross-legged with a cardboard sign saying, "Help me feed my children." It reminds me. The earth is still spinning on its ancient axis. The magpies caw and congregate in the tree outside my screen door. The bees, frantic and worrisome, continue to drone around my ears, light on my fingers, their tiny bodies dusted with dying goldenrod. Them and the stiff plastic wings of 5-year-old fairies call to me from the sirens of my own blue loop. This is another poem from about my father and my father's death. Really, is what it's about, my father's death, and processing through that. You know, it was quite a surreal ordeal, as death tends to be, and you know, I'm still kind of working my way through just the memories, you know, of what happened and how it all happened very quickly, you know, and not quickly enough, you know, at some points. It was just like, you know, it's ongoing saga almost, and he was ready to go, you know. And so, you know, this is called Mourner's Corner. Bear with me as I get through this poem because it's all over this page, and sometimes I read it in some different orders, so, you know, I might stumble up on myself because, you know, I'm crazy. Mourner's Corner. Let's be honest, there is no sense to this. One day we are breath, the next not. Each morning I wake to the swamp of myself every minute of the day before sloughed off and clinging to the wet sheets. Whatever I was will linger behind in this sea of questions that quested to understand. I am buried in an alphabet of answers, half cocked and still drunk from the nights before. An ocean of A's work overtime, trying to tow me from the wreckage of myself. One should say the names of the angels who try to save them, so I say April, Angela, Andres, A season of tulips erupt like tiny insurrectionists in the grave of gray matter, the smoky haze, aftermath of wildfires decades away. Let me make it plain. Every day, I dream of cracking this body open like a melon against pavement and flying from it. The days I watched my father, envious at his death, bed shrinking from himself, swinging between worlds, his body hungering for things it was no longer willing to digest. Cheeseburgers, white rice, Pepsi, fries, half pecked at on the hospital tray. I am still there. Wow, you know what I did? I missed a page. There we are. I am still there, wiping his forehead with a wet rag, impotent against death, heeding his warning to throw water on Blackbeard and get out of the way, not knowing there was nowhere I could run to escape the end of this story. Once, in an audience on the heels of my 53rd year, a woman from my hometown asked me, "What does it feel like to be an elder?" I spun into a tower of Babel, but should have said, "You tell me. You are still trying to crawl from the carcass of our dead city, back again in the bedroom of your 8th year. I am still a daughter, kissing the forehead of a man no longer here, trying not to weep into his smooth brow. What the fuck do I know of wisdom, of what it means to still be alive? Propriety has his hands around my throat. I am still wearing the baby skin of the children I refuse to bear. And here you are, edging me closer to the grave I want nothing more than to tumble into." Before he left, my father told me tales it took me 5 decades to earn. I trapped them in a phone like a genie. I keep buried in a bin, still too scared to hear again. Thank you, guys. How y'all doing? Good. Y'all okay? You still with me? Yes. Okay, all right, because you know, I'm intense. I'm intense. I'm really, really, really grateful, again, that y'all are here and just, you know, sharing this space of words with me and these memories. You know, it's good to just be here in the room and with y'all, so thank you. So I'll read a little bit from Under the Knife, and let me see what else I got here. I'm going to read a little bit from Under the Knife. Under the Knife, I'll talk a little bit about that project for those in the room who are not familiar with this book and what it was, you know, designed to do. And then I will read that Storm poem for the Marvel fans in the room. So, Under the Knife is an artist book that I created that tells 2 stories, 2 parallel stories. One is the story of me and my decades-long journey with uterine fibroids and breast fibroids, and coming to its inevitable conclusion. And then the other story is a story of my matrilineal line. This is kind of a bits and pieces story of my matrilineal line. And, you know, my mother and her sisters, my grandmother, you know, it's kind of a harrowing tale, even though, you know, they laugh every time they tell it. But, you know, my mother and her sisters grew up in an orphanage. They were taken away from their mother at a very early age and put into an orphanage in Xenia, Ohio. And the orphanage is a place that I would go. My cousins and I would go there every summer. So, you know, we were very in tune with this place. It's a part of our own history as well. And, you know, I was walking around this campus and just thinking about what we called the home. That's what it was called, one of the nicknames for it. and it resembled a college campus in a lot of ways. So whenever I'm on a university campus, I always think about my childhood memories at the home. But so Under the Knife is, me kind of working through some of those histories and my own personal histories, and it deals with the notion of genetic memory, epigenetics, for the scientists in the room, how we carry these things in our bodies, how we carry the memories of the people who came before us in our bodies, and that we don't often know that, we're reenacting things that, were just a part of our family lineage, right? And one of those kind of psychic things that I think about a lot with my family lineage is dealing with the notion of motherhood. So that motherhood shows up a lot in my work, with me kind of working through what that means, both the good and the bad, and so that's Under the Knife is kind of me, again, kind of grappling with this idea of genetic memory and trauma sitting in the body and, what that means, and also a larger conversation that I'm trying to have about reproductive rights in America, black women's, reproductive rights in particular, and other women who are marginalized. And so that's where we are with that. So I'm gonna read some pieces from that. Some of it's poetry, some of it's prose, it's just a lot of different things. It's hybrid text with a lot of images in it. Note to the girls in the future. I am writing you from a distant past, a faraway galaxy, and an unstable disposition. You should know right away that everything I say is a lie, a belief, an idea formed from a skewed mind state, a miserable vantage point. I'm about as trustworthy a narrator you could get. I'm sorry to inform you, I know you value truth. I want you to believe, but choose carefully. Belief can turn into the thing that drags you. Also, it may very well be the only thing worth believing in is what they took from me, what they scooped out of me, what they carved out of me, what they excavated from me, what they dug out of me, what they released from me, what they harvested from me, what they pulled from me, what they birthed from me. A colony of tumors, an archive of no's, a battalion of rogue dreams, an inheritance of heartbreaks, a lockbox of my foremothers' molestations, a cedar chest of secrets, 4 generations of the miscarried and stillborn, a library of zeros, a ledger of names written in decimal points, my grandfather's shriveled aspirations, a moldy cellar of witnessed whippings, a jewelry box of swollen tongues, a Bible of abducted children. What information is passed through a genetic line? What memories are housed in our cells? Are our memories the memories of some long dead unknown ancestors along the line? What traumas do we carry that we picked up along the way that were never ours to begin with? Bless you out there. I had my first surgery when I was 18. No. 7. No. I had my first surgery when I was 35. No. When I was 47. I almost had my first surgery today. The doctor drew an all-seeing eye around my wound to diagram the length and width of the scar with a purple magic marker. To be honest, I had my first surgery when they pulled me head first from between my mother's thighs, but I don't remember that one. The separation of my flesh from the source of all I'd known, muddy vessel, crumbling temple, this carved body, overgrown garden, nest of the narcotic. Everyone is invested in policing the black body. Yes, even you. And there's a particular virulent investment in the surveillance and policing of the black women, female body. In fact, there are multiple systems, most of them economic, that hinge upon controlling, corralling, and commodifying the female body in general. Why do you suppose, in the year of our Lord, 2017, the ocean vomited up 26 dead Nigerian girls on the gorgeous Mediterranean coast? Pussy and blackness are two of the first moneymakers ever recorded. And if you got both, well then, you know what time it is, right? The wait and see lasted almost 10 years, punctuated by hand-wringing around how to get health insurance, trying to prepare for the day when the wait and see became the oh shit, we need to do something now. Come to find out, I was lucky. At least the rock garden sprouting from the various linings of my uterus weren't causing me to bleed until hospitalization and blood transfusions. I didn't suffer from cramps that shut thousands of women down for days. I once knew a woman who floated from herself on an ocean of her own blood. So sophisticated in the art of suffering, so silent about her body's treachery that even the closest around her could not see her drifting, could not see her body sprung a leak, broke the levees of her. A deflated balloon tied to the wrist of a brutal uterus. In the early 1930s, my great-grandmother died in a bedroom at her mother's and father's home. She was 33. She withered from bad blood, a hell-born cough, and a lack of oxygen. She faded from a disease so terrible it carried 3 names in its contaminated mouth. In 40 years, from that woman would descend a perpetual hunger masquerading as a little girl. On the outside, the child would appear normal, whatever qualifies that term in 1970, a smooth-faced sleeping infant carried in a bassinet. Everyone cooed and oohed and bounced her around on her little rubber legs. What they couldn't see behind the drool, dazed gaze, and new smile was the open mouth that led to a throat 7 generations long. If they swabbed the inside of the tender flesh of her chubby cheek and nailed it to the geneticist 40 years in the future, they would receive a printout of 1,000 lifetimes of need, of droughts and depressions, rotten teeth, and aching stomachs, divided neatly into the slices of a pie chart. A sheet of paper with the names of 5 continents, countries, and regions stacked neatly on top of each other, each one housing at least one family in every letter. I'll land here. This is the last piece from Under the Knife, and then I will read this storm poem so we can land on something sweet. I can leave y'all with something sweet. I didn't want one child, I wanted 1,000. Because though you may try, you can't kill all of them. My body couldn't birth 1,000, so I didn't even bring one here. I let you have them, and one by one, and Storm rethinks her position. So, you know, I really like Magneto. He's my comic book boyfriend. Okay. He reminds me of Malcolm X. And, you know, his argument is really, like, valid, you know? Like, even though he's, like, supposed to be this villain, you know, he's really concerned about maintaining his people's lives. You know, and in the story of the X-Men, right, there's always this conflict between the mutants and the humans, right? That's the issue there. That's the conflict, you know. And you know, X-Men are kind of like trying to make everything okay, you know, trying to bring peace between the humans and the mutants. And so I would think about that a lot, and I thought about the characters and wrote a couple persona poems, a few persona poems in the voices of some of the characters. My favorite one I never really read out because it's kind of wild and crazy, but it's in Nightcrawler's voice, and it's all over the page, you know, because anybody who knows him, like, he disappears, you know, he can teleport, so it's like the words are all over the page, you know, he like appears and then disappears and then appears and disappears. So I'm going to read Storm Rethinks Her Position, It's in Too Much Midnight. And then let's open it up for some questions and answers and conversation and whatever you guys do here at this University of Higher Learning. Storm rethinks her position. At my vanity, I brush the stars from my hair, listen to the bones of my friends as they settle into their chambers. One cough, wet as the clouds, I gather around me like children, lands muffled on my ears. Outside, Logan's bike roars to life, shrinks to a small buzz swallowed in the distance. He roams until dawn, pacing his pocked memory, lying in the hollows, hoping the darkness offers a clue of who he is. While the bristles move through, I mull over Magneto's proposition, praying the professor has closed his mind for the evening, that Cerebro has sighed herself to sleep. There is sense in Magneto's position, this madman whose body is a nest of the electromagnetic, who makes a home for us higher than I've ever flown, where Venus slowly rotates like a woman appraising herself in her mirror. All my life on this planet spent in service of others. The elements that converge in my breast for their protection bow to me like the small humans in the village of my mother when I was a girl. A waterfall spray of albino cornrows washing down my shoulders. I tried to remember a moment of humanity, a memory not contaminated with hatred, the kaleidoscope of genocide they spin before our eyes. I think of the vow I've made, the laughter of my family, their magic crackling in the air around me, and wonder what freedom tastes like. Thank y'all so much.